Hello guys, this is DJS Hughes and welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about the next episode of Doctor Who Series 12, which is called The Timeless Children. I'm not gonna lie, I'm rather stunned. I think that there's a lot of stuff to process there and it is jammed packed full of stuff, and I probably wouldn't have it any either way. It was just so full throttle the entire time. I have a Fitbit and my heartbeat for this entire episode was 100 and I was sitting down, like my resting heart rate's like, 70? So for that to go to 100 means that, I was really into what I was watching. I do fear I'm going to be in the minority of people who like this episode. It felt very Stephen Moffat-y, and I feel like some people might think it's Hellbent, I suppose, or that sort of comparison. And I would say that this was actually way better than Hellbent. Right, let's try and break this down a little bit. So the first section, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the companion side and their part of the story before we talk about like the Timeless Child. So I think that they had a really good role in this episode. I think they had plenty to do. I liked how they went after the Doctor, and they had a couple of lovely moments between Graham and Yaz. Ryan was probably the weak one, becoming sort of a background character with a gun, and I'm surprised that the Doctor didn't mention anything like that. But I suppose desperate times, desperate measures. I think that the Master is absolutely brilliant. Like, if you weren't sold on Sacha Dhawan as the Master before, well, you are now, because he is just excellent in the role. I don't think that he's exactly replacing, but I think he's just taking on the role, that others such as John Sim or Michelle Gomez took on. And I think that, he's not replacing them, he's just doing his interpretation of the character. But he's also he is replacing them because they're playing the same character, but still. Conversations between the Doctor and the Master are really brilliant and really well written. I think overall this episode is actually really well written as well. The Chibnall did a great job of writing nice sort of confined scenes and big sort of actiony, important scenes like that. And I think he did a good job of finding the balance between having that emotional centre of the Doctor not wanting to lose the companions, etc., and having explosions. So let's talk about this Timeless Child stuff. I think it's actually really cool. I'm quite happy with it. I think that this is where I'm going to be in the minority. I just feel like the idea that the Doctor has incarnations before William Hartnell makes sense. To me, it's basically been talked about quite a lot before, theory, stuff like that, and this is fine to me. Hartnell is still the first Doctor. They pulled off the whole idea that actually William Hartnell was not the first Doctor, but there were multiple versions that none are necessarily the first. I think that they did a nice sneaky thing of not having to write in the idea of how the Doctor's going to get the next set of regenerations, etc., by saying that, they have unlimited regenerations because they're the Doctor, they're the first Time Lord that they never really lose. Wait, is the Doctor not even Gallifreyan anymore? What species is the Doctor? Because if the Doctor isn't Gallifreyan, then that means there's a whole new line of species over there that have the same regeneration power as the Time Lord, so they're not unique. The idea that the Doctor has multiple generations is something that they talked about for ages. I think it's the Other, which is the version of the Doctor. There's the Watcher thing, that was a version of the Doctor. So it's not exactly new, the idea that there was Doctors before the Doctor and, in the middle. So I suppose that on that front it's fine. But that also messes with the whole Matt Smith Time the Doctor thing. It's all very complicated. Somebody needs to make a chart like X-Men and dot out where all the Doctors go, including the Watcher and stuff. This episode has got me proper stunned. I really don't know what to say. There are tons of stuff I really enjoyed, and over the next few days I'm probably going to be talking about them. I'm planning to do a ranking maybe tomorrow, and by that time I would have decided on what I think my thoughts are in full. Because I'm still very because I think I'm quite impressionable in how I can sort of think at the minute. I think if you persuaded me with enough evidence, then I could believe another way. Jodie is bringing out a brilliant performance during this episode. I think she's doing a really, really good job. She's got plenty of stuff to work with, so that's why. And if you disagree with me, then that's fine. That's just your point of view. I hate to say something that people will not like me for. In the terms of, like in the comments, somebody will write something horrible about me, like my eyebrows are too big for my face, which they are. Look at the size of them. But I actually really like the episode. I think that it's made tons of stuff possible now. You can insert your own doctors whenever you like. There isn't really a first doctor anymore, I suppose. There could be a whole bunch of doctors before that. You can make tons of doctors Big Finish can create their own doctors and make them canon now. They can stick them beforehand. And that's why the current doctor doesn't know who they are, because they're set in the past. It's opened up many possibilities for Doctor Who, and that's why I'm really looking forward to what it holds if they actually use it properly. Okay, so I've got a couple of negatives. So I think that the Cybermen always get brought down again. This is like the third time in a row. Third time over the past couple of years. So you've had Heaven Sent and... No, you've had Darkwater and Death in Heaven. You've had the Doctor Falls more than often time, but they're the other way around, aren't they? You've had this episode. There's just a whole bunch of them. Where the Time Lord or something else, such as the Master, has gone over the idea of Cybermen. Again, the first part has always been quite dedicated to the Cybermen, and the second part just throws that out the water, and the Cybermen just become a secondary villain, which is quite irritating, to be honest, because they would have been perfectly fine sticking with the whole lone Cyberman thing, and they could have carried it on, and that would have been fine. I don't think anyone would have really cared, but they had to go for the whole Timeless Child thing, which is fair enough, to be honest. I think Chibnall's really rewritten the rulebook here. I think that as much as people aren't going to like it, and I'm sure down in the comments somebody will write something horrible about it, but still, I enjoyed it. I think the entire episode was filmed really well. Like, there was a beautiful shot of Gallifrey being built, I thought was just beautiful. The cinematography during the sort of Daisy scenes, like the kind of weary scenes, weary scenes, when, they're all kind of dizzy and dazed and everything, I thought that was really cool. And really well directed. I think they did a really good job there. My other complaint I have with the episode is I feel like plot holes could develop. In terms of, I'm sure people who are smarter than me could sit there right now and tell me exactly what was wrong with that episode. In terms of, because they've done this now with the canon, they've gone and thrown that and moved that over there, so that doesn't make sense, and this now becomes an inconsistency, so that this doesn't make sense, which means that all of this doesn't make sense, which means that this cannot happen, and that is your mistake. Which is fair enough, to be honest. I don't know if I talked about this in What We Know So Far earlier in the week, but I'm pretty sure I told someone about the idea of regenerating Cybermen, which I thought was really cool. I've definitely been telling my family about it, much to their horror, but I've been talking to them about how if you put Time Lord DNA into a Cyberman, would that Cyberman ever die? And I really like the designs of the Time Lord Cybermen. I wish they were used a lot more, because I feel like they were a bit underused. Because, they just stood there if they started trying to roll them out, or the Master actually started converting Gallifrey instead of, destroying it, which I imagine he did. He converted Gallifreyans, didn't he? So maybe they were just a bit underused. Okay, I think I'm going to end the video there, otherwise this thing will go on forever. So thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you did enjoy this video. If you did, make sure you give it a like. Subscribe if you're new. Over the next couple of months, I'm intending to rebrand a lot of stuff. We've had Doctor Who since the beginning of the year, and I think it's now time to do your kind of New Year, spring clean, I suppose, of my channel. I might go back and delete a couple more videos from my past, etc. Just because of the terrible quality of them. And start creating new series of videos, etc. I really want to start doing that and try and get better. Okay, what did you think of the episode? Put it down below. I really liked it. I'm really happy with it. I'm not disappointed, I'm rather satisfied, and I'm quite happy with a cliffhanger, which I didn't even speak about. That could be another video. Yeah, I'm quite happy with the cliffhanger. They've stuck it on something that I think will be really interesting. It's going to be interesting to find out where that goes in terms of Revolution of the Daleks. Was that what the episode was called? Where that's going to go, that's going to be really interesting. Probably seeing Jack return in that New Year's special is going to be really cool. I'm just holding out for some news with it, you know, from now on. So this outro's gone on for slightly too long, but anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you soon. Goodbye. Actually feels kind of sad that it's all over. There's a huge Doctor Who gap in my life now. I might just go and find a corner and just sit in it for a couple of weeks.